Globalist leaders from all around the world are rallying the troops to attack America over the tariff wars. Despite the fact that the United States is defending itself and its industries, a number of countries have already decided to make a U-turn and agree with President Trump, and they are planning to bring down their tariffs. And Prime Minister Mark Carney believes that Canada is now the new superpower. I'm not even joking. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 2CTV, your global news channel. The Canadians, or at least the Canadian government, have clearly lost their mind. We're going to talk about Mark Carney in this live stream, but we're also going to be talking about the other globalist leaders, from President Xi in China to Emmanuel Macron, obviously Mini Macron, the president of France, who think that they can take on the United States. They are plotting to bring down America, even though they were already putting high tariffs on the United States, and President Trump simply decided to retaliate and put on reciprocal tariffs. Somehow, apparently it's his fault that we have tariffs in the world. You already had the tariffs in the first place, America is hitting back, and apparently it's America's fault. So we're going to talk about all this anyway, because since last night, where obviously we gave you guys the actual update, we had Israel already confirming that they are removing tariffs. Obviously, Israel's name was still on the charts, but that was because they made the chart before Israel confirmed that they are removing the tariffs. But the tariffs on Israel will also come down. Canada, the initial briefing from the Canadian government was that, what we're going to do is we're going to negotiate and we're going to basically bring down the tariffs. Then Mark Carney woke up and said, no, we're not doing that. So he's hitting back. We're going to give you guys all the updates that we have. We're going to get your reaction live on this show. But don't forget, this Sunday, we are releasing our new documentary called Cancelled, which will be exclusively on 2C TV Plus. If you go on 2C.tv, the link is in the description. You can see the countdown. 2 days, 23 hours and 57 minutes. You also get access to all the other documentaries and all the original series on 2CTV Plus, as well as special interviews. But if you want to get access to 2CTV today, you get a limited offer. You get 10% off annual memberships, ladies and gentlemen, if you use the promo code CANCELLED10. CANCELLED10, go on 2C.tv, get 10% off. Don't complain about it later, right? It's limited. All right, let's talk about Mark Carney. This guy has lost his mind. Guys, this man actually believes that Canada is now going to be the new superpower. So first things first, Prime Minister Mark Carney announced that Canada will now place counter tariffs on the United States. Counter tariffs. Again, let me clarify. There were tariffs. President Trump put counter tariffs on them to hit back, retaliate. Now Canada calls what they're about to do counter tariffs. No, it's a counter tariff. You did it first, and there was a massive deficit, a trade deficit, and they had to be sorted out. But the Canadians believe that, the Canadian government believes that they're forever the victims, right? Then we talk about Mark Carney's rhetoric. Recently, he's gone a little bit cuckoo, as usual, and he decided to make a statement saying, well, America is not leading the world. It's okay. We will.
Canada is ready to take a leadership role in building a coalition of like-minded countries who share our values. We believe in international cooperation. We believe in the free and open exchange of goods, services, and ideas. And if the United States no longer wants to lead, Canada will.
He said it with a straight face. He actually said Canada will lead. Okay, fair enough. They're the new leader of the free world, Prime Minister Mark Carney. Ladies and gentlemen, even Trudeau would not have dared say something like this. It's so embarrassing. Now, with all the respect, because this is not really against Canadian people, because lovely Canadians, they're also being tortured by this government. It's not really about the Canadians, but your Prime Minister can't lead the world. Whether you like it or not, firstly, he's the Prime Minister. Secondly, his government is not going to be able to take on the United States. Doesn't mean Canadian people are not good people. It means your government is stupid. Now, the United Kingdom got away with this because of Brexit. We talked about this last night. The UK avoided the worst type of tariffs. Actually, we got half of what the EU is getting hit. The Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, says, "We are working hard on an economic deal, which we have made rapid progress on. And I hope that we can make really speedy resolutions. Nobody wants to see a trade war, but I have to act in the national interest. And that means all options have to remain on the table." Okay, I really love this. So you got a number of world leaders who are already hitting back. China, Canada, France, we're going to destroy America. You've got some who have come out to say, no, President Trump makes sense. Let's bring down the tariffs. Let's be pro-trade. Israel, Kosovo, many others. Then you've got Keir Starmer, who, as usual, is sitting on the fence because he wants to keep Trump happy, but he can't really alienate his EU friends. So he says, so nobody wants a trade war, but all options are on the table. I don't know what I'm doing, but something national interest. That's basically the summary of what the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom said. Meanwhile, thanks to Visegrad24, we can give you some information on the deficit with the European Union. The US trade deficit in goods with the EU is $235 billion US dollars. And then the EU trade deficit in services with the US is $110 billion. Now, all these differences will cause more damage for the globalists because the economic consensus, is now out the window. When America, the leading country, says no, the whole of the house of cards is falling apart. Meanwhile, we had Speaker Mike Johnson, explaining that America has been treated unfairly for a long time, and it's a time to actually look after the interests of the people, and the consumers obviously will be protected because the government in the US is helping in terms of tax cuts and everything else. Obviously, we don't really have sales tax in many of the states in America, but this is going to be helping the economy.
We've been unfairly treated for so long. The president made a good point in the Rose Garden. He said no previous president really has had the guts to stand up and do what must be done to fix this disparity. So we would expect the stock market to react in the way it is, but I think it will settle out. What I think is going to happen here is that the reciprocal trade policy, he calls it the fair reciprocal trade policy, right? We're not even going to do to other countries what they're doing to us, but we're going to try to make that more even. I think what it will do is open up the negotiating table. I think these other countries, leaders from these other countries, allies, and others who trade with us are going to come to the table and say, okay, we'll reduce our import tariffs on America's goods, and then we'll make this more fair. You can't have free trade unless you have fair trade. Ronald Reagan used to make that point, and Donald Trump is making it, and now he's acting upon it, and I think that the time has come for this action.
It's absolutely spot on. So one of the ways that the IMF supporters, the International Monetary Fund supporters, are plotting, not only because they're getting all the presidents and prime ministers to make the same statement, it's all coordinated, they're all saying the same thing, is to make the financial markets to react. That's the whole point. Similar tactic that was used against Liz Truss when she was Prime Minister in the UK, when she simply announced the budget. She didn't actually implement any budget, right? It was a mini budget. She made a statement about it. And then all the coordinated attacks from the establishment was that the budget has been implemented and the economy has been crashed. Obviously, that wasn't true. But that made the financial markets to react. And that's literally what they're doing now, so that they force President Trump to make a U-turn. Saying, look at the financial markets, it's all full. Suddenly, they all become capitalists when it suits them, right? Oh, they care about financial markets when it suits them. Now, speaking of one of the globalists, this time from the eastern side, is President Xi. Now, Winnie the Pooh in Beijing is a little bit upset because he's now saying that his Communist Party will be taking resolute countermeasures after Trump imposed 54% tariffs on all Chinese imports. 54%. China's Commerce Ministry slammed the move as a unilateral bullying by Trump in China. Unilateral bullying. Okay, so China is now also a victim Oh, we are oppressing the Chinese. It's so sad. Winnie the Pooh is crying now in Beijing. No, China must be punished even more than the other countries, not because of a trade war, but because they are rigging the system. They are rigging global trade, and they've been doing it for decades and decades. When President Trump was talking about this 15 years ago, they were laughing at him. He was right then and he is right now. You cannot have a free and fair trade with China. Those guys rigged the system. So you have to protect your industries. If only the European leaders were also as strong and robust as President Trump. Meanwhile, speaking of the Europeans, the Germans are also angry. Interesting, the robust response from the German government is that they are now looking at EU tax on US tech. They are saying that, just like Keir Starmer, everything is on the table. All options are on the table, right? So all the coordinated statements. The only difference is when Germany is talking about taking measures. Normal countries, Canada says Canada will take measures, and China will take measures. Germany says the EU. Why? Because Germany is still running the EU. Instead of saying we're going to put German taxes on them, now we're going to get the whole of the EU to put taxes. What's it got to do with you? Ursula von der Leyen, she's the dictator of Europe, which, by the way, she's also German anyway. But we know because the German government is calling the shots. But Germany is not really the only issue. There are many others as well, including Taiwan, who are not happy. But Taiwan, there's an interesting thing about this, because President Trump put 32% tariffs on goods coming from Taiwan. They are calling it highly unreasonable. The cabinet spokeswoman, Michelle Lee, expressed deep regret over the decision. But let's not forget, the semiconductor chips from Taiwan are exempt anyway. And that is the main thing when it comes to the crucial aspect of Taiwan and their industries right now when it comes to global trade. The semiconductor chips are exempt. No tariffs on them. They are still crying. Michelle Lee came to say that the executive yuan found the decision highly unreasonable, and they would regret the whole decision. I'm not really sure if the Americans are concerned about Michelle Lee, but I believe that they think they matter. But Taiwan is not the only issue here, because when you think about what the Americans are actually doing, the US government for their own people, you have to actually go to the Commerce Secretary. The US Commerce Secretary came out to actually explain one of the main debates that the mainstream media is refusing to have about why these reciprocal tariffs are important. He was on Fox News explaining this.
I mean, the European Union won't take chicken from America. They won't take lobsters from America. They hate our beef because our beef is beautiful and theirs is weak.
True. They started this. And now that the American government is hitting back to defend itself, they are crying because they are the victims. Reminds us of Hamas in Gaza. Same thing. Just different uniforms, I guess. A bit of better grooming as well. Now, the French are kicking off more than anyone else, even more than the Canadians. When the French are kicking off, do you know what's happening compared to any other country? Oh, nobody cares, because the French always kick off anyway. It's just a normal Tuesday. And the French government, including the Prime Minister, by the way, who is coming out to call the US tariffs a catastrophe for the global economy. Meanwhile, the European Union and France continue to charge up to 50% tariffs on US goods. Let me explain this. The EU, the French government, have been charging the US 50% tariffs. And that's okay. When the Americans saying, okay, well, we're going to have to increase our tariffs on you a little bit more, they are saying this is the end of the world as we know it, in a classic French government fashion. The problem here is that nobody cares. People are listening to Mark Carney more than the French Prime Minister, and that says a lot. But they are trying to hijack the whole platform. And by they, I'm talking about Mini Macron, Oh yes, President Macron has been trying all day to gain the media attention. Because everybody is responding. All the countries are responding. Winnie the Pooh in Beijing and the new superpower in Canada, Marconi, and all the others. Taiwan with the microchips and everything else, right? Not microchips, semiconductor chips. But the French government have been releasing statements every 10 minutes to ensure that they get the headlines every 10 minutes. So we have Emmanuel Macron saying he's bringing together leaders from French business sectors to his palace in Paris to address the impact of Trump's new tariffs, which includes a 10% base rate, obviously on all US imports. The problem with this is that most of the industries in France don't even trust Macron anymore. So he's going to invite a bunch of people to his stupid palace thinking that they're going to listen to him with his new plot against the president of the United States. You don't have a good approval rating anyway. What do you think is going to happen? So first things first, that's not the only thing. Because Macron is now calling on companies to pause investment in the US. So no more investment from the French into the United States. I could make a lot of jokes here about French companies investing in America, but I'm not going to do that. So this is the same Macron who's been trying to pretend that he's besties with President Trump, right? You know, every time he sees Trump, he always hugs him. He's very touchy-feely. I don't understand what's going on. But Trump's not going to date him, no matter how hard Macron tries. You're wondering where that sentence was going. But he's still trying. He's going to get the companies to stop investing in America. He can't do that, by the way. But Kosovo, on the other hand, going a different route. We had the Kosovan government saying, today I formally requested the government to suspend import tariffs on all US products, an important step to deepen economic ties with our closest ally and to send a clear message. Kosovo is ready for a more robust relationship with the United States, with a clear vision that would make both our countries stronger, safer, and more prosperous. I am confident this move would unlock opportunities for job creation, technology exchange, and long-term economic growth. More than just an economic move, this is a foreign policy objective, reaffirming our enduring commitment to the Kosovo-US alliance built on the shared values of freedom and decades of unwavering support. This is how you respond. This is how you do it. All these countries who've been putting tariffs all these years on the US, when the US is hitting back to defend itself, the reaction should be, okay, let's be more pro-trade with America. That's the correct logical response, not more tariffs. They are claiming that the American government and the American president is protectionist, right? For simply doing retaliatory reciprocal tariffs. Their response is more protectionism. You see the hypocrisy? Because that's exactly what these globalists do. Kosovo is correct to do this. We also have Bolsonaro in Brazil defending and supporting President Trump. Now, former President Bolsonaro has warned against escalating tensions. He said doubling down and escalating the crisis with our second largest trading partner is not a wise response. Bolsonaro also said that Trump is simply protecting his country from this socialist virus. He has now urged the Brazilian government to lower tariffs instead of matching the US rates. But the response from Lulu, the crazy Lulu, is we're going to be more socialists. If only Bolsonaro was fully in charge now, but obviously that's not the case. We have to deal with Lulu. But Brazil is one thing. South Korea, they are crying as well. South Koreans have ordered an emergency response to Trump's 25% tariffs. The acting president, Han Duck-soo, has ordered the emergency support for industries affected by these tariffs, and he has also directed the industry minister to negotiate with Washington. The good thing about this is that the South Korean interim president, he's not the real president, he knows that he has to cry a little bit to get the support from the South Korean industries. In reality, he knows he has to negotiate with the Americans, just like Kosovo, just like Israel, and all the others. Now, the United Kingdom, this is the question for you guys in the live chat. Until now, Keir Starmer has been sitting on the fence. He says nobody wants a trade war, but all options are on the table, right? Now, questions for you. Do you think Keir Starmer will be eventually going with his EU friends, Macron and all the others, saying, yes, we're going to put tariffs on America? Or do you think he's going to be, for once, logical and say, we're going to negotiate with America and we're going to bring down our tariffs? Let me know in the live chats. So, let's get some reaction. We have a number of super chats first, then I'll go to some non-super chats. Thank you, Ivan, saying, naughty Trump, how dare he look out for the US? I don't understand. When you're president of your country, how dare you look after your people? You have to look after people in South Korea and France and Canada. Prioritize them. Civil Defense UK says, Mr. Tusi, I heard you on Dan Washed Up Wooten earlier. What? If Fox, that's Lawrence Fox, had dirt on Farage, he would not wait until 2029 before the general election to release it. Rubbish. Well, it's a bad look to say, I've got something, but I'm going to keep it till later. You just showed your cards to the whole world. Just don't say anything and then release it. I don't know. I agree. Ivan says, Canada will lead the blind. Leading the blind. I mean, I don't know if this is more ridiculous coming from Mark Carney or whether it would have been more ridiculous coming from Justin Castro Trudeau. Actually, no, Trudeau would have been more ridiculous. Anything that Trudeau would have said would have been more ridiculous than Carney. Carney looks like a grown-up, but he's not. He's a fraud. His background, his whole track record is a fraud. Just like all the others. Failed leaders, failed politicians get promoted into international entities, whether it's the Bank of Canada, whether it's the European Union, whether it's the United Nations, and all the others. Ivan also says, Starmer translation equals, I have no clue. And Kim says, why don't we let them screw around and find out if these losers can lead the free world? That's why I voted for Trump, because the globalist is not in his pocket. Let's get quickly some non-super chats, because I just realized I asked you guys about Starmer and I didn't get your response because the chat's going to go up. I believe my dad is in the live chat, so hello. Okay, what do you guys think about what I asked you about Starmer? It's a very intellectual response to Keir Starmer. Victoria says, Keir Starmer is going to a gunfight armed only with a blunt butter knife. Not even a ninja sword. Ah. The UK tariffs the US 10% already, so it is fair by Trump. It is, but Starmer doesn't understand that. So that's the whole point. He's going to increase the tariffs. And if I were President Trump, I will increase the tariffs again on the UK and see what they do. Now, let's get some more reaction. We have Ivan again saying, who wants cheap Chinese goods anyway? The problem with the Chinese goods is that they became kind of default products. It's not, if people had a choice, most normal people had a choice between a well-produced something, anything, and equally priced, nobody would go and get it from China. The problem is most things are built in China and you don't have a choice. So if you're going to go, I don't know, buy a mobile phone or something, although some of the tech companies have now moved to India, but that's not the point. Most things will still come from China. You don't have a choice. So, I mean, there's always a choice. You can just go and buy local or make clothes yourself if you want to. But if you want convenience, if you just want to buy something from a multinational company, then it's just going to be from China. So it's up to them. I mean, it's up to the consumers to put pressure on them, and then they have to change their ways. The other way is to get your political leaders, your presidents and your prime ministers, to do it for you. And that's what the Americans did. In November 2024, the American public voted for Donald J. Trump. He stood on this platform. It was in his policy program. It was a pledge. And he's one of the few politicians who's doing what he promised. And now everybody's crying. People knew what they voted for. Dasman says, French cries, anyone? French cries, French fries. UK and some other EU countries are not even counted in today's technological developments. Busy with toilets. They will be doomed in this tariff war. Yes, that's very true. The Western European governments are too busy figuring out where people can go to the toilet, depending on their gender. American food is crap. Well, that's a subjective opinion, but okay. UK food standards are the best in the world. Yes, but what end and what cost? I mean, if you want to have random pride, it's like the Persians, Iranians, who still say, well, we had Cyrus the Great, the Persian Empire. All right, you can talk about your pride, but where are you now? What's happened to your country now under the Islamic occupation? So, yeah, you can talk about the UK standards, and we can have high standards, and as we do have high standards, but it's also destroying our farming industry. So thanks for that. Anyway, proven 41 years in a row. To what end? British are the best of the best. Again, this is just emotional stuff, and I love Britain, and we should be proud of everything that we have. But you can't just be proud for the sake of being proud. You need to look at outcome rather than just emotions. Yes, obviously the standards are high in this country, and obviously it's part of the British mentality to be the best. But be the best at what? Outcome or the process? Ivan says, when you go, will you bring back a tariff from America? Good song. Ivan, are you drinking again? Clark says, Brits can't even control their own cities. Yeah, but be proud of our high standards, right? Kim says, Israel dropped their tariffs. Yep, they are not stupid. That will go a long way with Trump. Tells us who our true allies really are in the world. But yeah, we've already had reactions, obviously, from Argentina, from Israel, from Kosovo. The countries that see sense, even relatively speaking, South Korea, they understand what they have to do. The UK has surpassed the US in obesity. That's true. Your food must not be that good. No, it's very processed. That's the problem with the British food. You think the American food is processed? Oh, wait till you come to Britain. It's no longer 2005. It's 2025. Everything has got so much salt in it and sugar that it doesn't really help. So the food situation and the health of the nation is not really going too well in the UK. It's getting worse than, obviously, officially worse than America, but it's just that some Americans still love sugar way too much. But that's their choice. So there was... Yeah, common sense. California has a bigger economy than the UK, and so that's true. Yeah, California's economy as just one state is bigger than the UK, and you know it's all about the outcome. And look what the Californians doing to their own state, destroying it with high taxes and high regulations because they want to be the best at regulations. Oh, they love the regulations, and it's going down. MT says what? Canadian military equals 2 Gregs plus 1 Moose superpower. Again, this is not really a nothing against the lovely Canadians. It's that your government is not that powerful. Ivan says Amir Tusi for Prime Minister. That's my dad. Imagine that day. That would be chaos. Jenny says, yes, Ivan is drunk. We are in the pub. So in case you don't know what Jenny's talking about, because Jenny likes to say things out of context without explaining, because most people in this live stream don't know what the pub is, Jenny. So Jenny's talking about our virtual pub. Yes, we have a virtual pub, which I didn't set up, but our followers, subscribers did. On 2CTV Plus, we have a chat forum at our Discord server, and we have a virtual pub, which is supposed to be for Fridays, where people get together and talk and get drunk for some reason. But it's Thursday, Jenny and Ivan. What are you guys doing? You're already getting drunk. Okay, you know what? After this live stream, I'm going to go on the chat forum. I'll go on Discord to join you guys as well. Now, I'm not going to drink, but I might have a bottle of beer. But I will join you guys. If you guys want to join us, you have to join 2CTV Plus. And that's on 2C.tv, which is down here underneath the wall. Or I could just put this screen on. Look at this sexy screen. Use the promo code cancelled10 to get 10% off annual memberships on 2C TV Plus by going on 2c.tv. The link is also in the description. It's a limited offer. Do it now because we have a new documentary, Cancelled, coming out this Sunday, 9 p.m. UK time. Robert says, the United States is self-sustaining. Is your country? No. The United States is one of the few countries, if not the only country, although you can put Australia relatively into that category, that can be and is completely self-sustaining. They can literally build a wall around the whole country and not see the outside world, and they will still be fine. That doesn't apply to most other countries. They can't. Logically, not because they're stupid or anything like that. It's because of the climate, the environment, and the opportunities, the landmass, so many things that you have to factor. So you love shutting down British farmers? No. You are part of the problem, not the answer. Thanks, pal. You are an idiot because that's not what I said. The whole point is you have to support the farmers. Just like how President Trump is supporting the industries in America and the farmers, you have to do the exact same thing in this country. Make it easier for them to compete with the rest of the world, and don't randomly bring in foreign imports when you can make things in this country. Get local produce. That's what you have to do. Buy British if you're in Britain, buy American if you're in America. I've said this before, I said this last night. If there is something that you literally can't make in your country, if you can make this, get it from here, not from a different country. If you can't make this, then get this from a different country. That's how trade should work. And the problem is you don't do that. You have to protect your industries, you have to protect your workers, and obviously your consumers. And the best way you can protect your consumers is lower taxes and making sure that there is job opportunities for them. Kim says, 2CTV, why don't tariffs play cards? Here we go. Because they're afraid they will get trumped. It's not even that good, but it's good. That was good. Thank you, Kim. Thanks, Mr. 2C. You do a great job, and I enjoy your channel. Thank you so much for that. Minesh says, civil defense, looks like you have more money than brain cells. No, he just misunderstood what I was saying, even though what I said was straightforward and what I've been saying for about millions of years, especially in terms of supporting your farming industry and everything, farming sector and everything else. But some people don't listen. Let's get some non-super chats. Lacey says, Davos plan is what the US fights every day, kicking out the illegals. EU is all sucked, bought to this plan. Tariffs are wonderful if you love capitalism, which is great for everyday people. That's the thing. If you prioritize free market capitalism in your country, then the reality is you should abolish income tax, because income tax is theft. And for a very long time, until we had to fight the French, income tax wasn't even a thing. And countries used to fund their economy using tariffs. And you don't have to go full protectionist. You can still do fair trade with countries that you have level playing field. With friendly countries. You can't do free trade with China. That's a terrible idea. But you can with countries that are friendly, and you know you can buy something from them that you can't make in your country. Civil Defense says, 2C, I am a British farmer. You're not. But he spelled Y-O-U-R. You forgot the apostrophe again. And you are the plank, not me. And it doesn't matter if you're a farmer or if you are a cleaner. The point stands. The position doesn't change. The logic doesn't change. British government should protect British farmers. The American government should protect American farmers. Same applies to sectors and industries. And we have to ensure that we make things easier for our farming sector and all the other industries as well. And when it comes to agriculture, we made it so hard for them. We were bringing in foreign imports, which they can't compete with, lower standards, obviously. We are making it easier for the foreign imports to be sold in supermarkets. We are putting up taxes on the farmers, and the subsidies that were promised by the government on them, they've been withdrawn anyway. So the farmers can't protect themselves. And it's a job of the British government. So it doesn't matter, civil defense, if you're a farmer or if you're a doctor, the position doesn't change. The British farmers must be protected. Caroline says, oh my God, we live here in Canada. It is a joke here. We have no free speech. News streams are blocked on Facebook and other platforms. Yeah. The cost of living is a disgrace. The allowance and the rest of the comment is gone because it was too much. Yeah, but it's okay because Mark Carney thinks that he's now the new leader of the free world. Canada is his new superpower now. TJ Russell says, the globalists can't touch America. We have a strategic leader whose vision has never been met with the game plan he has. He sat for 4 years waiting for this moment, and he's not going to mess it up, obviously. I support Trump. All he wants is free trade, and I think that is perfectly fair. If countries drop their tariffs, the US will too. Yes, that's the point. Reciprocal. He's literally just doing it at retaliation. That's the only thing he's doing, and he's still being quite generous, apart from some countries like China. Anyway. Sean says about Mark Carney, well, he did a great job when he ran the Bank of England and Bank of Canada as well. Let's not forget about that one. He was a failure at both places. Kaber says, Mark Carney is in such a delusional state. The EU is so corrupt that anyone who affiliates and partners with them says a lot. Look at the EU, current UK, and now Canada. It's a control and corrupt agenda. That's a very good way of saying it, because the United Kingdom and Canada both are directly partnering themselves with the European Union, which is so unnecessary, especially for Canada. What are you doing hanging out with the European Union? It makes no sense. And aligning yourself with the EU is going to be problematic when you're right next door to the United States. If you think prioritizing the EU relationship is better than the US, then you are delusional. Absolutely. So, there's a lot of other reactions as well saying Trump needs to kick out the Chinese companies that own land in America. In other words, take the pound back and tell China to F off. You don't own it. It's ours. Now F off. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Chinese influence everywhere anyway, but we'll find out what the reaction will be, especially after the financial markets stop having a meltdown. As I said, don't forget to join 2CTV Plus. Get 10% off a discount by joining an annual subscription basis. If you use the promo code cancelled10, go on 2c.tv, do it today, limited offer. And then the new documentary called Cancelled, which is about cancel culture, will be out on Sunday at 9 p.m. UK time. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Maya Tusi, and we are the media.